going to die, I don't think. Father was of two minds. There was a very rational, very realistic person, and it was a person that really enjoyed fantasy a great deal. And the realistic person, of course, realized that we're all born and we all die. That's the natural course of events. I remember that one of the most significant things that occurred in my life was a time when I was a young boy, and I was walking down the sidewalk with my father, and there was a dead bird laying there. And my father said to me, he said, "Someday this is going to be you, that you're going to die." And at the age of 5 or so, about the age of my daughter now, the notion of dying really sunk home. But the fantasy aspect of my father really didn't want to admit that he was mortal. And we really never discussed it in terms of what he would like, other than I think he mentioned to my mother one time that he'd like to be cremated. What I'd like to do is this, I would like a few of you, if you wish, and I'd like you to come up and say a couple very brief things. And then once we run out of people that want to say brief things, I'd like us one by one, those of you that wish, come up here and take one of these bottles. It's labeled, I did this on my laser printer in my computer, Louis Edmund van der Kar, all spelled correctly, I hope. April 14th, 1913, December 14, 1988. And below that is artist, sculptor, humanitarian, and at the bottom it says memorial urn. So go ahead and take this and go ahead and get yourself a couple good scoops. Looks a little bit like beach sand around Haulover. And that way you'll be able to have something to remember him by.
Louis was a very great influence in my life, a very great teacher. He took me many places. And because of what he taught me, I want to keep living after he's gone.
I think I knew him. I know I loved him. And because he was here, I'm a better person for it. And I hope it stays that way and that it passes on to my son and his son and keeps going from there.
Hello. Lou was a good friend. He taught me a lot, a great deal. I don't think he knew how profoundly he influenced my life. And I just wanted you to know that, Lou.
I guess one comment I'd like to make, this is the way Lou would have wanted it. So in case you have some misgivings about this sort of approach, this is clearly in Lou's style.
I appreciate being here from Canada to take a sample back from a museum in Port Stanley, Ontario.
I wish that Lou could just say goodbye to us so we could remember him by goodbyes. Because it's real sad that he died, and I wish he could have a second life of dying.
My name's Jerry Harburg. He was the most knowledgeable, creative, unique individual I ever met. He's watched me grow from a little boy into a man, and I'll cherish his memory forever.
I've met a lot of people in life, and they've all come and gone, but the interesting thing is that the people I met through Lou, the people I met out here, are the people who've remained constant in some manner. They may come and go, but they always come back. And that's how I look at Lou. I miss him. I try to remember that, you know, he's only someplace else where I can't go visit, and I try to stay unconcerned about it, but he gave me so many of your friendships, and he gave me so much that'll never go, just like he won't. as long as I'm alive, as long as any of us are alive, and we hold him in our memory, he'll be alive too. And I'm glad that I could be here today.
Hi, I'm Kathy McDonald, and Lou was a very good neighbor of ours. My husband and I live around the corner, and we could say that Lou is probably our only friend around here besides Pat. We're really going to miss him because, well, we still have Marge, and we do come by and see her, and I know a lot of people are going to miss him. He was very encouraging and very supportive. He encouraged both my husband and I to pursue a lot of things that I know we probably wouldn't have gone after without his encouragement. He was a great guy.
Hi, I'm Mary Ann. It was his prayer, the magician's prayer. You don't really want me to try to, no way.
Take two.
Take two? Come on, are you serious?
Work through it. That's really good. It's also The Alchemist.
Are you all bored?
No.
It's from the Emerald Tablet or table, whatever they called it back in 15 something or other. It was found at an Egyptian's tomb. It was carved in the... "'Tis true without falsehood and most real, that which is above is like that which is below, to perpetrate the miracle of one thing. And as all things have been derived from one by the thought of one, so all things are born from this thing by adoption. The sun is its father, the moon is its mother, wind has carried it in its belly, the earth is its nurse. Here is the greatest perfection in all the world. Strength and power are absolute when changed into earth. Thou wilt separate the earth from fire, the subtle from the gross, gently and with care. It ascends from earth to heaven and descends again to earth to receive the power of the superior and inferior things. By this means thou wilt have the glory of the world, and because of this all obscurity will flee from thee. Within this is the power most powerful of all powers, for it will overcome all subtle things and penetrate every solid thing. Thus the world was created. For this will be and will emerge admirable adaptations by which the means are here. For this reason he was called Louis E. Van de Car, having three parts of the philosophy of the world. What he has said of the sun's operations are accomplished, so be it."
Mary Ann introduced me to Lou in 1980, I guess, or was it 81? And I was always convinced that Lou was an old windbag, and in fact called him that a lot to his face, when I wasn't referring to him as an old bastard. But I guess he was, in fact, my best friend, and the fact that he was 75 or 80 or 100 or whatever, and I was 35 or 38 or 40 or whatever, didn't seem to make any difference to Lou or to me. And I'm sure that, like a lot of other people, now I'm forced to actually start the process of growing up on my own. Now I've got to learn how to cope with life on my own. There's not going to be Lou there to talk to in the middle of the night when I'm sick and don't know what to do, or when I'm broke and need to know where I can borrow a couple of bucks. Lou is everybody's best friend, and I can only hope that all of us will learn eventually how to live the way that he tried to tell us over and over and over. To just take it easy and to love life the way that he did. To a large extent, I think Louis Van de Car was life, all of our lives, and it's up to us now to carry on.
I remember in 1981 when Lou was doing a sculpture of me, and he made the whole experience so magical. I remember one day he repeated the Highwayman to me, and that was Lou, and coming out here it was such a magical mystery tour. This was always, it was so peaceful to come out here, and I'm really gonna miss him. Thanks.
When I think back on my father, I guess I'm much more like my father in many respects than I realize. Right down from certain facial characteristics to body posture to walk. And if you could just quiet down just a little bit over there. Let's go. And he really had a profound effect upon me, as you might imagine. He spent an inordinate amount of time by my side when I was 5, 6 years old, 7, 8, emphasizing logic teaching me how to think properly, teaching me how to be analytical, rational. And he had a saying that truth was not fragile. If something was true, it bore close examination. You could scrutinize it, you could turn it around, look at it from every different vantage point. If it was true, it held up. And if it was dogma or some sort of mythology, it would break down. Around 12, 13 years old, I started to apply some of these principles to my father. And this was a little bit difficult for him to handle, because I started to question what he was saying. And it wasn't easy for him to accept that in certain respects. He was both intellectual, but at the same time he was very much of an egotist, or egocentric. And he developed the world around him. He had many different professions throughout his life. Art was initially a hobby. Around the time that I was 14, 15 years old, he discovered that he could make a living doing what he enjoyed doing in terms of artistic venture. And he started a studio at the house, and this attracted people. And although he never went past the 8th grade in terms of education, because of the variety of people that would frequent his studio throughout the years, both in Miami and also here, he became extremely conversant in a number of areas. Having my father die like this is, it happens to most of us, and it really brings you in touch with your own mortality. I think about the fact that my father was about 30 when he had me. So I can add about 30 years. Just about the time I start to get a handle on life, it's time to check out. But when I really think of the existence that my father had, being able to live as long as he did, 75 years, in extremely good health, doing exactly what he wanted to do, surrounded by exactly the sorts of people that he wanted to be surrounded by, I would trade it in right now for such a guarantee, and then to go abruptly without any pain or worry. So that's basically what I have to say.